Okay, everyone, today we're getting into what is badness versus goodness. And I wanted to share a spiritual experience to help describe this, because this gets to the core of how our ego functions and how it thinks and how our society thinks, how cultures think, if not consciously, subconsciously. So the experience I had was last night. Today is January 11th. No, this was a few nights ago, actually. It's confusing it with different encounters. But there were encounters over the years with various spirits, and the one from recent is very telling on how to perceive reality or badness. So I was speaking to my soul. My soul is female, so it's kind of strange or weird, but it's what the collective ego wanted. It wants, for whatever reason. It doesn't allow me to be male. So my soul, my true essence, has to be female. So that kind of makes me a lesbian man. Yeah, you can smirk, it's funny, but it's just kind of the truth on an esoteric level. Okay, so the bad spiritual experience. So last night, or a few nights ago, I was lying on my bed and I was talking to my soul. And I said, my soul, you're the creator. You can help me in whatever I need. And then I heard her saying, yeah, I can help you. And I heard her saying, I said, could you help me get this and this? Things that were more trivial. But then all of a sudden I heard another female voice. I heard the first female voice saying, well, I don't know if that's possible. And then I heard the second female voice saying, and it sounded exactly like a Maleficent with horns. And all of a sudden an image of Maleficent popped into my head as I was speaking to and I said, really, are you sure? And she said, that's not me speaking. And it gave me a lot of insight into what just occurred. I was speaking to either goddess or God itself, or my soul, which is God, or my soul, which is goddess, or whatever you want to call it. My soul is what's helping me. And there's a part of the soul that is forced into thinking a certain way, okay? So what we call that is the ego. And the moment the ego didn't want something to occur, it got involved, right? So whenever the collective ego doesn't want you to have something, it will split off from a singular identity that you believe in or you worship or you're focusing on, and they'll become two. And there'll be two gods or two opinions. And that's why in history you often had two gods and not one, because one god was unsustainable. Because if you're speaking to one deity, eventually he's going to get pissed off. And you're going to have a second deity to explain why he got angry, how he got angry. So it's pretty much like human beings. It's more on the deity or foundational level or the collective unconscious level. So this second woman, is the first woman that doesn't believe it's the second woman, because that's not what the first woman wants. But the second woman also believes that giving me what I want is necessary. So the second woman then is in a delusional state, because she believes subcategory beliefs. I believe that this person should be happy and well, but I believe it shouldn't be done on these conditions. But she believes that these conditions are stronger than these conditions, but she still holds on to these conditions. Then you go back to the first female who says, I want you to have everything regardless, unconditional love. And because she holds on to these first conditions more, she'll let me speak to this woman, but she'll break off more often when I speak to her about things that I want that she thinks I shouldn't want. And if things happen enough, then she'll split off entirely. Then this Maleficent demon woman, succubus or crazy person or crazy creature, will exist separate from the original identity. And I know this was a real encounter because I wasn't creating the thoughts. Sometimes I help encourage it, because your soul is you. So you have to help it, encourage it a little bit, and then the rest happens by itself. Because your soul will create its own narrative based on what your narrative is. And so that's what happened. And that's what happens in general. And that's what happens on an underlying level. You have infinite love. You have foundational love that wants to give you things. And then because it conflicts with the collective paradigm, that becomes its own entity if you continue pursuing what you want through that deity or through that energy, despite the collective paradigm saying that's not the proper way or proper format. So I'm not going to tell you what I asked for, but it's just to give you insight into why people often say, don't ask for stupid things to your God. Don't ask for many women, right? Don't ask for lots of money. Don't ask for $1 million. But the real reason why you shouldn't ask for that is nothing to do with materialism necessarily. It mostly has to do with that creature doesn't think you deserve $1 million. Which creature? The collective unconscious of the ego part of the deity itself. So if you ask things that are too crazy, it'll be forced to say no because there's another side. And if it says yes, it'll just split off from that original deity. And then you're stuck. So you're kind of forced into following the agenda of this. So how do you resolve this? How do you deal with this? I'm not really sure, but I feel like that's what human beings are doing. We're constantly creating paradigms so everyone can fit in and go up the ladder in their own way. The problem with this is many people get left behind because the deity just doesn't allow them to thrive. The one side of the deity or the foundational energy won't let them thrive. And where does the deity come from? Does it come from the collective unconsciousness, or does the collective unconsciousness come from the deity? And I applied the CBG, my convergence idea or principle, to explain this. It appears. And if you want, you can pull in Ken Wilber's 4 quadrants and say they're both simultaneous, and based on the holonic approach from Turquoise, you can just shift perspectives to see which one's more true at a given time. They're both acceptable ways of going about how to understand this. But this is a very important video because it gives you insight into what bad is and what good is, and why bad exists, why good exists, where we're getting our idea of bad and good, right? I actually had another idea regarding this that would illustrate this, but this was slightly better and it was more recent. But the other one was also good. So maybe if I remember it, I'll put in the description to tell people what I experienced. The second experience that gave the same information just in a different encounter. So that's it. It's basically the 3 words that taught me this whole video was, it's not me. That's what the deity or my soul said. It's not me. When she said, yeah, I agree with her. It's not me. The voice of, I don't think so, when I was speaking to the deity, was actually the subconscious of the offshoot deity, of the demon side of the deity that didn't want it to happen, but wasn't as verbal about it, because it has its own subconscious mechanisms. And then once she saw I accepted it because of what the subconscious of the demon deity said, or the demon lady, then the woman herself, the actual maleficent lady, said, yeah, I'm happy that she said that. The reason why you're happy that she said it is because that's what you said. You forced her to say that, and it was never her speaking. It was the separate entity that wants to deprive people and have things in specific formats. All right, there you have that complex video. I always talk about the complexity of the ego because it goes back to the unconscious mind and why things are functioning. And even if you're not in stage blue and stage purple and stage red, all this stuff will probably come back in stage coral because these have to do with the unconscious. And even if the unconscious evolves such that these things function differently, the stage red exists because of pastimes that don't want to die from ancient Sumer and all the old religions that literally latched their identity into our bodies and shaped us to who we are today. And that actually influences the spiral dynamics evolutionary model itself. So that's just to be cognizant as you go about thinking this. Thinking of these things. And take care. Have a great one. I hope you go through this a couple of times to understand it and you gain from it.